welcome to Joy in Our Town. We're so happy that you joined us today, and we hope that you'll call your friends and relatives and neighbors and say join in. We're talking about youth and homeschooling, and also bringing back the youth focus and on our country's grassroots. We have special guests today. They are part of this. They're actively homeschooling and been a part of this particular lifestyle and education. So we're so happy to have Vince and Missy Como. Nice to meet you. Glad to have you here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So as far as the homeschooling and what made you decide to homeschool?
Well, I was going through school to become an elementary education teacher, and during my journey through that time, I began to notice a lot of things, a lot of trends that were becoming alarming to me, really. And it's not that there are bad teachers out there. I want you to know some of the teachers that I met, they are wonderful, highly qualified teachers. However, the rules that are being placed upon them, that are coming down in our school system, it's more than anybody could ask. And I saw a lot of kids just falling through the cracks, and their needs were not being met. We know not all children learn the same way. Some are late bloomers. I was a very late bloomer, but I began to notice that, you know what, these children are being left out. And we need to understand that all children are special and important. We can't just focus on those who excel in academics and leave the other ones behind, because we know that there are multiple ways that a child can excel in, and academics is only one of those. There are your athletic children. There are your the children who can relate socially to one another. The kids who can look at themselves and they're introspective, and they don't get the attention that they need in school. And so I began to look at that, and I began to ask myself, what do I want for my children? What if my children are not those who do so well in academics that they're being praised and put on the honor roll and just being passed all the way along with high favor? What if they're the ones that are left down here? I want to be able to nurture that and help that to grow. So we prayed about it, and I just really felt that the Lord was calling me to homeschool. And so I got my degree in education, and when it was time for my children to start school, I began to homeschool. And I homeschooled my son when he started kindergarten. However, I began to doubt myself, and I thought, oh gosh, how can I do this? I can't do this. I'm not qualified. And yet here I have a degree from Arizona State University saying, yes, you are qualified. But however, so we put my son in school for first grade. And then I just felt that stirring again, and I asked my husband, what do you think about this? And we prayed about it, and so we pulled him back. My daughter had just started kindergarten, and my son had just started second grade, and we pulled him out, and we've been homeschooling ever since. My son is now in sixth grade, and my daughter's in fourth grade, and we love it. We absolutely love it.
That's wonderful. Now, you mentioned you got your education as far as qualified to teach. What are the qualifications that do you have to have a degree to be homeschooled?
No, and I hear that argument all the time about, well, how could a parent who doesn't have a degree in education, how could they homeschool their kids? How would they possibly know what to teach them? They are not qualified. Well, you know, I've met some qualified teachers who may be questionable whether they are qualified to teach or not, but they don't have to be qualified. There is so much support out there and so much curriculum. You can buy the same curriculum. For example, we used to do a particular type of math that the whole state of California uses in their public school system. So it's
great.
so we still have those resources, and you get a teacher's manual, you get all the books that you could possibly need, and it tells you word for word almost what to say, what day to do this on. If you want to get through this book, this is the schedule that you need to keep, and it keeps you focused, it keeps you on track, and it helps you. There are numbers that you can call that if you don't understand, you just have to pick up the telephone or go on a
wonderful.
website. So that is a huge misconception that parents are not qualified when they know their kids better than anybody. So they are qualified.
Now, Vince, do you get a chance to teach too, or is it just
Not,
Missy?
not typically. It's mostly Missy.
Missy? Okay.
They consider me the principal, so
All right.
I get to be the heavy when they're not behaving. But the reality of it is, for me, and as a dad, I was concerned about what was being taught to our children. And whom. And I'm with Missy. You know, there's a lot of people that are qualified, but the reality is some of the content that I see some of the states moving towards, and I thank God for Arizona and our governor and all the things that they support for homeschooling
Yes.
people. But the reality is I want to have control over that content. You know, there's many things that we want to emphasize and bring out in our kids. And I know that we're going to talk more about this, but we want to raise our kids for greatness, okay? And in doing so, there's certain things that we want to focus upon. And the other
Right.
thing I would say is, as a homeschooling mom or dad, because we've met homeschooling dads. I love going on the field trips. It's usually all moms, but there are a few dads every now and then, and it's a lot of fun to be with the kids. And what I mean by that is there, when she said resources, there are other moms and dads out there that are doing the same thing. And what we found is they've created little foundations in different cities, clubs, whatever you want to call them, where they share resources, they share time, they share studies together. And we just found these to be
wonderful.
great, where the other kids can come together and still interact with each other, and there's a network there. And they build friendships through those and with the moms and dads. So it's a great resource. You're not alone. There's people that you can count on to help. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. As you mentioned, there's groups. Is there how do you find these other families that are homeschooling? I know you probably have some friends, but how do you venture out and find more that you can just kind of get together and see what they're doing versus what you're doing as far as homeschooling?
Right. The internet
Okay.
is a big source, and there's a group here, Arizona Families for Home Education. They are just a wonderful resource to have. They connect people. They have co-op classes is what they're called, what he was talking about, where you can take your kids and for example, you want to teach a class on biology, and and there are some other people who want to have a class on biology. You get together, and then one of the parents,
Oh, that's great.
they take turns teaching a separate chapter in that. So all the kids get to benefit. All the parents still get to interact and be able to help their children. And that resource, the afhe.org is the website that they can link you up, and there's a search to go in and find a homeschool group within your community.
In a little bit, we will flash up on the screen the information, and so people can get on these websites and learn more about homeschooling. I know there's misconceptions, about homeschooling. I thought it was a certain way, and you've enlightened me that it's not that way. And in the curriculum, how do you decide what curriculum you're going to choose,
Yes.
and the cost of it?
That is a great question. Actually, there are a lot of misconceptions. Mostly one that I even got from my own family is that, oh, your kids are going to be weird. And because how are they ever going to interact with other kids? They're not going to know. Well, and the fact of that is that all kids enter into some kind of social engagement with others, but
Right.
but just because you're interacting with other kids doesn't mean it's a positive
That's true.
social.
That's right. Very true.
And so that's what we want to do. We want to provide our children with positive social encounters that cause them to be who they are. That it causes them to step out and to be able to carry on a conversation. To, you know what? Just a little side note. I was reading an article that there was a study done by Harvard University that said that what are employers looking for in the youth coming out of college. And it said they weren't necessarily looking for high academics. They were looking for people who could think on their own, people who could work constructively in groups, people who could work alone without having to be micromanaged. And and they were looking for the innovators, people to think outside of the box. And to come up with the new solutions to problems that let's face it, that this country is we've never seen some of the things that we're being challenged with right now. And so I found that particularly interesting because this is exactly what kind of environment homeschoolers provide for their children. They provide that environment to cause their children to think outside of the box. They challenge their children to come up with new ways. Well, what would happen if we did this? And instead of that forced regiment of this is how we do it, do this worksheet, then this worksheet, turn it in, and I'll give you a grade. There just isn't that room. And when you have 40 kids in a classroom, I don't blame the teachers that there isn't that room for allowing that kind of free thinking. And so whenever people say, oh, your kids won't be normal, I say, good, they won't be normal. I'm glad because I want them to excel. I want them to be the forerunners.
That is wonderful. And you control the environment that they're in.
Absolutely.
All day long. So,
absolutely.
And well, you have enlightened us on homeschooling. Thank you so much. And we probably just scratched the surface a little bit. And so we're thankful that you joined us today and sharing this good news. We're going to flash up on the screen some information that you can, websites. Please look these up. Missy and Vince has helped us to come up with these websites, and they said they're very, very helpful. And check them out. AZ Families for Home Education, look up afhe.org. FocusOnTheFamily.com, AskedHeritage.org, and FamilyMatters.net. And these are some great websites that people, as you shared, can get on and get information and also learn about homeschooling. I know that it's probably a lot of people are scared, as you said, you were, but I think that it's probably well needed in some incidences. So thank you so much.